Now, if this doesn't debunk the concept of white privilege, I don't know what will. I'm pretty sure a lot of people know that others are lying on their applications, whether it is a job interview or whether it is a university. But I don't think anyone imagined that the lying goes to this level. And I'm willing to believe that they probably lie about their sexual orientation as well. Because now these things, the race and the sexual orientation, are on par with merit. You can be a straight A student, but if your parents didn't fuck correctly or you're not attracted to the correct genitals, that's going to cost you. And I'm saying this because there have been lawsuits in the United States, usually by Asians who felt that universities were discriminating them. And I don't blame them. I mean, why else would a university even care about your racial background? Why else would a university care about your sexual orientation if it didn't actually influence the hiring process or the admission process? Now, as you guys know, I'm a Eastern European, and we also have a type of affirmative action here, one that studies show that most Americans would prefer. And that is to give people admission based on class rather than race. Because that is the whole point of why you're doing it. You're doing it to help marginalized people. You're doing it to help impoverished people. And then give it to the poor, if that's the case. And the thing is, you can't really fake being poor unless you're working under the table. It's a lot more difficult. But for me, if I go to a university and I claim that I'm of Roma descent, or like these students are claiming that they are part Native American, it's very difficult to debunk. What are you going to do? Do a 23andMe test? I mean, are you going to do what Elizabeth Warren did and you find out that they have one ancestor maybe 5 generations ago and therefore, So, to me, it's a little bit surprising, just the level, the number of people doing it. And by the way, I fully encourage people to lie on a resume whenever they can get away with it, because the corporations lie to you as well. No company is going to tell you, yeah, the working hours are going to be awful once you join us. You're going to have to work overtime and we're probably not going to pay you. We're going to push some corporate bullshit on you and pretend we're your family, even though once we fire you, we don't even care about you anymore. And we want you to care about our corporation a lot more than you care about your real family. What employer is going to do that? No employer is going to do that. Which is why they lied to you, so it's perfectly fine if you lie back to them. Just tell them the things they want to hear. If they're asking you for something, it means that it is required to be taken into account when they give you the position, so tell them. You're a raging homosexual if you're not married. You're a Muslim. You're whatever. If they can't check it, if there's no way for them to tell, you should. Because other people are doing it. And if other people are doing it, you're competing with those other people. And why do you want to end up at the bottom? Why do you want not to get the opportunity that can change your life when you're in a competition with other people that are cheating? So that is my advice. I know it's not okay. I know it's not honorable, but we don't live in an honorable society. You can't have honor when other people are dishonorable. When most people are going to be honorable, then you can have honor. I'm not saying all people, I'm saying most people. But when you have a third, it's already a sufficient number to destabilize the system. These are only the third that are admitting that they've lied. There might be others that lie, but they're afraid to say it because of the consequences. So everything that is completely arbitrary, outside of your control, and you think that it's unfair, yeah, sure, lie. Why not? Why shouldn't you? The company lies to you all the time. The universities are going to lie to you all the time. Oh yes, join gender studies, really great. Do they tell you that you might not be able to find a job, that the economy can't integrate all of the gender studies graduates? No, they don't tell you that. They want you to make a loan from the banks so that you can have crippling debt. And once you pay the debt at the university, they got their money, not their problem anymore. Do they tell you that if you're a white man with gender studies, you're probably never going to find a job? It's almost like being a woman as a Catholic priest. Like no one is going to hire you. They don't tell you that. You're supposed to figure that out yourself. So again, lie. By all means, in this situation, okay? Don't lie about important things. Don't lie about your studies, your credentials, your income, like things that they can check. But when it's something arbitrary, yes. Look at this. 48% of students claim to be Native American. 34% of white students who applied to college falsely claimed they were a racial minority. I mean, when I was a child, my mother gave me wisdom. And the wisdom was that don't listen to what other people say, look at how people act. Because that's the most important thing. And let's think about a racist country, the most racist nation that was designed on racism. Nazi Germany, most recent example. I mean, the entire ideology was basically focused, hyper-focused on race and identity politics. And if someone were to ask me, like, who were the privileged people? I would be like, okay, well, the Germans, obviously, right? And if you take a time machine and you would see German people lie and claim they're Jewish, wouldn't that mind fuck you a little bit? Wouldn't that just like, hold on a little bit, just a second, choto mate. What is going on here? Why are they doing this? Because that's pretty much what's happening here. If America was systemically racist, wouldn't it make sense that black people would pose being white? Or that you'd have the minorities pretending to be part of the majority? Wouldn't the gay people pretend to be straight? Wouldn't that be what you would expect in an actual systemic racist and patriarchal system? Of course, no one is going to talk about this, just bringing it up, because there is a war on noticing things. You are not allowed to notice these things. And if you notice them, you're supposed to shut the fuck up, because otherwise you're a bigot if you point them out. And it's interesting because you're in the majority if you think that poor people should be giving a helping hand. So if you have a black person or an Asian person or a Jewish person or a white person that's poor, they're the ones that should be getting the scholarship. They're the ones that should be helped. It shouldn't be based on arbitrary characteristics such as race. You can't get a time machine and get your parents to fuck correctly so you're on the proper race to be admitted to the university. You can't do that. But what can happen to you is that your parents could die in a car crash and then you're poor. You have no more income and maybe you're a smart kid. Maybe you have a lot to contribute to society. Would be nice if someone were to offer you an opportunity to go to university, wouldn't it? So that's why I definitely support in my country for the impoverished people that are studying very well to actually go into a university. And by the way, it's more than that. Because in my system, if you're poor, yes, you can get a scholarship, but you also need to show that you had good grades in high school. You also, once you get to university, you need to pass all the exams with great grades. So, yeah, you get a helping hand, but you also need to prove that you are worthy of getting a helping hand. Just because you're poor doesn't mean you can't study. So, if you're poor and you go home and you play Counter-Strike all day, and your grades are failing, oh, now you don't get the helping hand. The government withdraws the helping hand. They're helping you because you're poor. But you're also smart. That's the whole concept. It's like, yes, he's very poor, but he's also a very smart lad. So he should deserve a helping hand. But if you're out partying, and by the way, I'm going to tell you something as a person who did 2 universities. University, at least nowadays, it's not really about thinking outside the box and finding solutions to problem, which actually requires intelligence. University is about memorizing stuff. You go there, you read the book, and then you tell the professor what you've read. That's how med school is like, that's how law school is like. Unless you go to math, unless you go to physics, maybe there is a little bit more complex that you actually have to use your brain. I don't know. But when it comes to most universities, you just need to read something, memorize it, and then tell it to the teacher. Some people can do this very quickly. I have seen people at med school managing to memorize an entire chapter in an hour. To me, it took 3 or 4. Other people, it took them a day. But what I want to say is that if you're a university student and you actually dedicate yourself to studying, you spend as much time as possible studying, and you don't go out clubbing, you don't play video games, you don't procrastinate, you don't spend a lot of time doing other trivial stuff, there is absolutely no way you're not going to pass that university. This is something that they don't mention. I had seen a person which was suffering from schizophrenia. He was very shy, very introverted. and he actually saw people that were in there. He finished med school in 9 years. Others finished in 6. But he struggled. He struggled. He didn't become a practicing doctor, but he managed to go through it. I'm telling you, that lad was very peculiar, to put it in the least. And he wasn't smart at all. But he kept at it. Like every single day, he was reading the books. He was sitting the books, and he was struggling and struggling, and at the end, he managed to do it. It's pretty much like a guy that doesn't have a lot of strength and is asked to move all the boxes in an Amazon warehouse. He might not be able to do it in the same time as a strong person. Might take him weeks, might take him months, but eventually he is going to do it. So that's what I'm actually trying to tell people. Don't be discouraged if you're at the university. There isn't a university that is impossible to do. And as long as you're studying, as long as you're focusing, you will be able to graduate. And if the world is cruel and unfair and is judging you by standards that are completely outside of your control and is not willing to even give you a chance, then in that situation is probably the only one where I would encourage people, yeah, if you can lie and get away with it, do it. Just do it. There's no point. The game is rigged. It's out of your control. There's nothing else you can do, and you would be stupid not to take the opportunity. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.